Just bear with me while I get set up here. Let's have a look. So, amazing, we actually made it here. Let's have a look. Looks like we've had streaming problems. Hi, Fluffles. Yeah, I've got all your notes. I got everything over here. Where the hell am I? I can't, hold on. Oh, please, poor little computer. All right, I've got everything here, so we'll go from there, okay? Hello, Necessary. Actually, I'm just going to put my crayons away. So I've got your notes, Fluffles, regarding Freddie. Freddie the cat, and also a new dating interest. Got all of that. Just wanted to put a chart in the background for reference. I'm not doing an astrology show tonight, as you know. It's really just about you guys and getting some messages from the great beyond. How about that? I also got notes from Mr. Gregory Ross. You all know Gregory. He visits here pretty regularly. He's been really sick as well. And he's been taking medications and so on. I just connected with him just to see how he's doing. So, just for the reference. Oh, he's here. Good evening. You're strong enough to click YouTube. So that's a good sign. I've got just about enough strength in my throat and voice to survive for a show and to do a few readings like planned. And I know that you like to go second and third. Okay, Fluffles? I have to tell you, I don't know if I screwed up, but I couldn't find anything from your friend Chatty Kit Kat. So I don't know what to do about that. Excuse me. Let's go over and say hello. Let's be polite. Okay. Good evening and welcome. It is Sunday night over here. It is the 4th of January, 2026. We just had a spectacular full moon yesterday, and of course the build up to the full moon. It was pretty exciting. It was a very big deal full moon regarding America. The Cancer-Capricorn axis was very heavily triggered. The sun in Capricorn and the moon in Cancer, plus all the Mercury, Venus, Mars things going on. And I mentioned that quite a while ago. Once Mars gets close to the sun, and especially close to Pluto, we're going to see potentially a lot of extremely hyper-violent situations, for better or worse. Okay, I'm just checking the notes on the chat. Hold on a second. Hey there, why don't you do her next time then? She didn't come on tonight. Okay. And Fluff will see about my question. It's about an old one that I'm not in about it's about an old one that I'm not in contact with, wondering where he's at with it all. Oh, okay. All right. Well, either way, we're going to get to your reading, so don't worry about that. With all this, I've been doing this for years now, and I like to look at the astrology, and I don't like to look too far ahead. I don't like to get too technical. I mostly just rely on my intuition. I've had a lot of technical training. I used to have a huge library for references and things like that. And for a period, I owned some pretty awesome software, but it was like a rental thing, and I can't really afford it. So I just wing it, like most people do with their whole lives. I just wing it here. I've been doing it so long that I have my own, system, protocols already built in. And I get pretty good feedback, so I'm not going to question it. There are certain astrologers out there, the very technical ones. They're always going on about the degrees of this, the degree of that, and something's moving here, something's moving there, and it sounds like basically a description of whatever's outside your window, kind of like what these folks are doing. But the real issue is, what does that mean to you? So that's kind of where I like to focus, okay? Excuse me. I'm sure, Gregory, you can relate. My cold started all up here in my head and my eyeballs and my sinuses and my ears. It was just miserable. There were a lot of chemtrails as well. It was just basic good old flu. And I had a fever for a few days. Pretty miserable. Very sick. Sick going to the bathroom and vomiting. No, I didn't actually vomit, but I wanted to several times. And I thought, I'm getting better now. The fever's gone. And then a day later, everything went into my throat and into my lungs, where it's still hovering right now. Anyway, just want to get a little bit of background on the charts so that you have a reference point. So here we are. This is my brand new ephemeris for 2026. I haven't been here on the Sunday Night Live since middle of December last year. It's been weeks being below operational. So we just had the new moon. Sorry, we just had the full moon. That's over here. Sun in Capricorn, moon in Cancer. And then we had all the other shifts from a very tumultuous December 2 weeks from now, we have a new moon. This is going to be the sun in Cancer and the sun in Capricorn and the moon in Capricorn. So it's a very serious new moon, new starts and new beginnings, wherever that particular point and degrees lie in your chart. It's about 27 degrees. So it's very, very acute regarding the astrology of America. Interesting. Next, on top of this new moon, we have a series. I like to think of them as like speed bumps. You know, when you're driving along through restricted areas, or even better, orange cones. If you live in an area that has like a city type environment, you're probably very familiar with orange cones everywhere. This is a very serious matter here. We have a lot of orange cones messing up the journey forward. So just be prepared for a lot of chicanery as we go through the whole of January. Things will settle a little bit in February, but we're going into a huge new chapter. With this little cluster of speed bumps here, I'll show you what's going to happen. We've been building up to this stellium for quite some time. It started over here in Scorpio, it grew stronger over here in Sagittarius. Now it's very strong in Capricorn. The full moon is going to be right here around the 18th. Right over here. The sun will be in Capricorn, right here. Exactly at the Pluto in Capricorn mark for America. So it's a very, very important new moon for America. This is a very powerful stellium. Sun, Venus, Mercury, and Mars, all personal planets. So if you want to, this is kind of a personal evening here when I do the tarot. So if you want to imagine the personal astrology, this is what it would look like if you happen to be an Aries, like an Aries rising type person. This would be the transits for you. If you were a Libra person, let's see, had very strong Libra tendencies, like Libra sun or Libra rising. This is what the chart would look like for you. All the trigger points are over here in the 4th house of home and family and stability and security. If you were, let's say, Cancerian, it would look like this. Huge aspects happening over in your 7th house of primary fundamental one-on-one relationships, marriages, open enemies. Okay. What about Capricorn? Did I do Capricorn? No. For Capricorn, it would look like this. If anyone out there is a Capricorn, it would look something like this. Massive, massive stellium, new starts and new beginnings for your life, your identity, your sense of self. Like, who the bleep am I? Over the last year, I thought I was so-and-so and so-and-so, but now I'm realizing, oh my God, I have to double check, double, triple, quadruple check in the mirror. Who exactly am I? Because it looks like I'm starting all over again. I've got to completely recalibrate my sense of identity, my sense of who the hell I am. Okay, so that's just, and you can figure that out if anybody wants to, book for a personal reading and so on. Okay. Oh, hello. Who's that? Samantha Campos, 9436. Samantha, this is I'll show you what it is. Before you get too stuck in or too excited, this is my website. Oh, something's missing. Hold on. What's going on over here? Give me a second. Okay, there's something missing on my website. But anyway, there's TarotLumination.com. You can go to TarotLumination.com and there's a donation button. This is tarot readings by donation. Do not do super chat. Okay? No super chats. It'll never get here. Even though the channel is monetized and so on and so on, YouTube does not have any favorable settings for me. So because of terrible things that happened in 2018, 2019. So I can't, all I can do here is just ask for donations. That's the only way I can keep forwarding. Okay? No worries. Okay, Samantha. So just Samantha, just for fun, hang out and see, maybe next time, next week or later on, you might want to do this. Okay? And we're going to go back to the astrology for a minute. So whenever you get a stellium like this, it's a huge compression of planetary energies. They're all working together as one blob. It's very hard to distinguish the energy of one from another. When you have planets all spread out like this, you know, Moon, Jupiter, Uranus, they tend to express themselves in a more defined manner. It's more simple to distinguish them. But when it's in a stellium, it just acts like one blob, whatever that means to you. So I do shows on my Rumble platform. You might have heard of Rumble. It's another type of thing like YouTube. Over on Rumble, I can speak very freely and openly compared to here, and so I speak freely and openly. And you'll discover more about my true nature and how I feel about life in the world and everything, and my positions, my beliefs, my attitudes, and how I share all that. But with this big thing coming up here, this is a heads up for everybody, whether it's astrology or tarot, whether you're whoever you are, whatever your belief system, your religions, your attitudes. We're going to have a massive stellium up here in Aquarius. And lo and behold, I already did a show for that a few days ago. This is my chart from last night, and it indicates warlike events. And so guess what happened? We had the spectacular events in Venezuela. Now, going up to the 28th of January, I know this is sounding backwards, but this is a heads up, a couple of weeks from now or so, we're going to have a massive 5-planet stellium over here in Aquarius, okay? Pluto, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury. When Pluto and Mars are conjoined, that is an extremely powerful, warlike aspect, conjunction, like the sign of a warrior, the sign of a fighter, the kind of fighter where the more you try to attack them, the more powerful they become. And that's all piling up here in Aquarius. This is the 20-year journey that just began for the revolution across the world, where billions of people are seeking freedom from tyranny. This aspect here has no direct oppositions or transits over here. However, again, it's not an astrology channel tonight. I want to point out that a massive stellium like this, pointing directly at the Chinese Communist Party, the USA North Node, and the Donald Trump rising, combine all of that energy together, there's something very, very warlike that could happen here. What that looks like, who knows? How would you define a war? It isn't just guns and bullets. Right now, the biggest war we have on planet Earth is a currency war. The US dollar versus everything else, every other currency. It's a vicious, vicious war. There's the hot wars, of course, you know, Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Gaza, Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, the Venezuela thing, and maybe Cuba coming up, Nigeria, Yemen, and so on. Just want to give you a heads up. This astrodoodle correlates to this. Okay? I derive my astrodoodles from this. Anyway, enough about the astrology. Probably ought to go over here. Let me just check something. Okay, so Samantha, yeah, I hope you got an idea of how it works over here. It's a lot of work to do these shows, and I hate asking for donations, but I kind of have to. I didn't used to have to when I first started, because the channel was growing very strong, and I used to make a living off my channel just from doing my shows. That's how YouTube works, basically. Until it didn't. And ever since then, I've had to do things like donations, memberships, and I can't stand doing it all, and so I've been very negligent. And really all I do anymore is I just ask for donations. That's it. So it's very simple. You go to the TarotLumination.com website. I wonder if I can repair the damage. How can I do that? Okay, hold on. I'm going to try and give you a better... Let me see if I can repair this. Okay, let's have a look. See what this is like. Okay, so that's a better view. That's TarotLumination.com. You can go there on a tablet, a phone, a computer, whatever device. And that's where you can donate, or you can book your private readings or get in touch with me. However you want to do it. Okie doke. Thank you. Anyway, Samantha, thank you for your interest. Hang out, enjoy the show. See if this is something you want to pursue later on. All right, I've got a couple readings lined up. Thanks, necessary. It always helps. Oh boy. All right, let's have a look over here. Fluffles, dear Fluffles, it seems we have a very quiet evening here tonight. The only two bookings we have are from yourself and the other version of yourself. And your friend didn't show up, and you mentioned that she's not here tonight anyway, so I've only got 2 readings booked, so we might as well just get on with it. Either way, Fluffles, you're first in line and you're second in line, okay? Because, by the way, everybody, in case you hadn't figured it out, Fluffles has booked 2 live mini readings for 2 completely different subjects, okay? So, let's see. I'm going to get everything organized here. Get everything organized. And let's get some tarot cards rolling. Well, guess who showed up after all? I knew you were here, but I didn't know if you were up for it. We're going to do it. You're up, Gregory. I know you can handle the pressure. Being first. It's always tough to be first. I know. The expectation levels are so high. It's just not fair. Okay, let's go over here, get set up. Hey Gregory, I'm doing okay. I'm definitely healing. I'm about 80% better. But the last 20% is proving to be very draining, challenging. Okay, so whoever's hanging around here watching just for fun, this is how we do it here. And we'll see what happens. Don't put you before Fluffles. Okay. Oh God, it's a fight now for who wants to go second or third. Here's what I'm going to do. Okay, so Gregory. All right, I already have Fluffles lined up, so I'm going to do Fluffles 1 and Fluffles 2. How about that? We got 2 readings for Fluffles. And oh yeah, it was just horrible, 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 horrible. Okay, well, Fluffles has been very... Gregory, if you're okay with that, I'm going to take you up on your offer because Fluffles has a tradition of never wanting to go first, if possible. So what we'll do is this. I got you up here. Just relax, enjoy, Gregory. It'll be fine. You don't have anything to worry about. And we've got Fluffles reading number 2. So we'll get to that. Let's see. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do Gregory. Sorry, I'm going to do Gregory, then Fluffles, and then Fluffles. That's how it's looking so far, unless someone else jumps in. All right, so Gregory, brace yourself. Sit on your hands if you have to. Get another deck of cards out if you have to do your backup invisible support readings, however you want to do it. Get your favorite beverage, wrap up, put a scarf around your neck, get a barf bag handy just in case, and we are going to jump right in. I know you've been going through an awful lot lately with readings that we've done in the past, family situations, work situations, employee situations, residence situations, pet situations with Mia and Stone Cold, all of it. We've covered pretty much every aspect of life. Okay. I don't do jumpers, flyers, reversals. I just love the cards the way they're made, Okay, Gregory, just brace yourself, hang in. It's fun, okay? It's revealing, it's fun, and you never know what's going to show up. If you're okay with it, I'm just going to dive in completely blind. We've built up a lot of rapport over the years, and so I think we can be pretty confident. You've already invited your invisible friends. Just get everybody seated, comfortable. Hanging out like we do, like at the campfire. Everybody's got their nibbles and snacks and beverages. The campfire is absolutely beautiful. It's a lovely evening. You can hear the ocean waves way in the background. You can see the last remnants of the sunset over the mountains. The rich, moist air with grass and trees is hovering around the campsite. All is good. All right. Okay, so what kind of messages do we have here for Gregory Ross tonight? I have my invisible friends on standby, of course. Well, they're not on standby. They're here. Oh, how funny. All right, let's have a look. Oh, for anybody watching who's new, like Samantha and anyone else, I've been doing this a long time. I don't do traditional tarot spreads. I have my own custom spreads. I have 3 custom spreads. I use these on the live shows, and then I have my relationship spread and my spiritual life journey type spread. This is my situational spread. It's more like a diagnostic tool, like when you go into an auto shop, because the check engine light on your car is flashing. You don't know what's going on. Is it the torque converter, the mass air sensor, the oxygen sensors, the transmission? Who knows? We're going to find out. That's the whole point of this reading. Maria! Maria, check in. Tell everybody how you are doing, what's going on in the chat. I'm going to do a reading right now for Gregory, okay? But I know like a lot of people like to hang out in the chat while we do the readings. Okay, here we go. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle things, and let's have a look at external influences. Of course, I usually default to astrology, but it could be more personified. We'll see. King of Wands. My feeling is that this is, like, it feels to me, I'm going to be very trusting of my intuition and my invisible friends. What I felt immediately is that there you are, Gregory, living your life, okay? You've got your 3-dimensional world, a place where you sleep, a place where business can be conducted, a place of serenity. There's the outer shell, like the outdoors, and then there's the outer shell of the outer shell, like the town, the neighborhood, the environment, and all the activities and events between yourself and that world. And there's a piece of glass between you and the rest of it. In other words, just like a piece of glass on the window. And there's you, cozy at home, looking out through a piece of glass in the window. And then suddenly the King of Wands comes up, knocks on the window, bang, bang, bang. Excuse me, Gregory, Mr. Ross. I'm not an illusion. I am the King of Wands. I am a reflection of your true self. In case you needed a reminder, hint, hint, huh? All right. The King of Wands energy, I guess I'm relating it to the big fat stellium that's out there, because it's going to affect everybody differently. But in your case, to me, it feels like it's a reminder to, like, wake up, Gregory. Wake up, okay? You have that King of Wands component inside you. At some degree or level, in some category in life, you have already attained mastery. You already know how to conduct yourself in the spiritual realm. In fact, you're very fluent in that realm. And because when we do these readings, the big challenges seem to be more to do with the 3-dimensional life, all the tedious stuff of 3-dimensional life. How do you navigate through a 3-dimensional life where there seems to be like a never-ending cascade of challenges, confusion, disruption, chaos, mostly externally and from other people. But the way that you're built, it probably needs a reminder that, okay, so you're very sensitive to all that stuff, but okay. Gosh, I don't want to get too personal on the live stuff, but this is a Capricorn stellium. And the Capricorn stellium for you is really important because it's very sextiled to your sun sign, okay? And also to your rising and certain other aspects on your chart, because we've worked together with astrology before. So it's very beneficial for you. And the King of Wands is kind of like going, ding, ding, ding. Gregory, you don't want to miss out on this. This is a really, really good opportunity to, clean the fog off the window and look at me as the King of Wands as a reflection of you. Okay? I'm there to reflect you, remind you that you've already attained mastery over inspiration. Like, you can be very good using your compassion for other people. It's okay to apply that for yourself too, okay? Number one, love thyself. It's one of the hardest things to do. It's just a reminder, okay? All right. Just basically a glimpse out the window. You're fine, Gregory. You are an awesome being. You have leadership qualities. You do bring inspiration and hope to others, okay? And that can only be done by attaining mastery yourself in your own right and living by example, okay? You have a very powerful aura, whether you like it or know it or not. Okay, what's the situation? Okay, so with the Knight of Cups, it makes me feel that there's a bit of a sense of tragedy inside you right now, like wishing that everything worked out just like a physics equation where, like when TarotLumination says, oh, be loving, be loved. Be loving, be loved. Be loving, be loved. Okay, that sounds great for me to say it. And it's great to write it down or look at it on a bumper sticker or a post-it note, but actually living out that expression can be extremely challenging. So there you are. The situation is that in your own way, you are a very loving person and you are bringing love forward in your life. Okay? Now, what tends to happen is that people start to layer on certain expectations. In other words, okay, well, if that's how it works to y'all, if that's the physics of love, if I am loving, where's the love that's supposed to be coming back to me? Huh? What about all that? What about all that? Now, I'm not projecting that into here, but when I see a card like this in this position, it's like, it's almost like an expression of like, yeah, okay, that's true. I am loving. I bring the healing power of love forward in life. I am an instrument of the healing power of love. I live by example. And that's true, Gregory. You really do. So that's the situation. What are the challenges here? Okay, so the fundamental challenge is love anyway. Like on our three-dimensional life in this world, we can continuously radiate love, the healing power of love, be a light and a beacon of inspiration and leadership to others, and show guidance. Occasionally, now and again, it becomes very clear. You are loving and you are loved. In certain ways, some ways, somehow, you have been loved and you are loved. Whether it comports with your expectation of what that would look like, that's a whole other thing. Because what this is indicating here with the Eight of Cups is that you have planted many seeds of love. Much, much love has been expressed, shared, donated, given to the world, to others. And yet you have to move on as if nothing happened. And that's one of the challenges, because I learned this years ago, Gregory, working on a show called My Name is Earl. It was all about karma and this like redneck, simplified view of the world and love and physics and life and everything. And the star of the show is Earl. And on one episode, he had a kind of tragic breakdown because he realized he had to make a mission in his life to be loving and to do something good, because he was such a degenerate and he wanted to change and become more inspirational. And so he did that. And in so doing, he accessed three-dimensional physics and said, okay, well, I've been very, very loving. I've done a lot of good things for people now. So where's the love for me? And then someone has to kindly tell him, well, it doesn't work that way in terms of pure physics. It's not just like someone there is keeping a ledger and saying, okay, well, Mr. Earl, you did this much love and that much stuff for that other person. Now you're going to get this much back. It doesn't work like that. You have to love anyway. Sometimes the love we bring, the love we give, doesn't come back until another lifetime. Okay? So, how do we proceed from here? Because this can be extremely frustrating. Extremely frustrating. Because it doesn't seem fair. You have so much to offer. You have brought so much light and inspiration and hope to others. You are loving. You have brought love to this planet, to your world, your community, your neighbors, your clients, your animals, your pets, your friends, even to your family. But where's the love for you? You know? What about me? I just have to keep going anyway. So how do you proceed? How do we proceed from here? Okay, so with the Justice card here, to me it feels like it's kind of a karmic, very big, powerful, but very gentle karmic type of message. Imagine someone, this is going to sound very weird. Hold on, give me a second, Gregory. I'm going to really kind of take some liberties here. Excuse me. Yeah, this is the only way I can do it, because this is how it came to me to be the most expressive way to do this. Let's say, I don't want to offend anybody here tonight who hates Donald Trump, okay? And if you hate Donald Trump and everything he's doing, if you've got severe TDS, I can't help you. But for some people like myself, he is a godsend, and he's bringing a lot of love and healing to this planet. It might not look that way to some people, but he's coming at it from a very, let's say, authoritative, experienced, capable position. And some people pray very strongly for him. Now, when I see the Justice card for you, Gregory, what I'm sensing is that the way forward is to understand, it's going to sound really, really strange, a little bit extreme, is like God is watching you. God is watching you and putting a hand on your shoulder and basically saying, Gregory, I know how you feel. I know exactly how you feel. Please, my son, or me, or Jesus, whoever you want to call it, we fully understand the sense of injustice that happens here on earth, especially with people who tend to be loving, caring, modest, respectful, kind, patient, understanding, loyal, all the good things, all the really good qualities in life. And yet those people are often the ones who are most exploited and most abused. And it's like God is trying to send you a message that, Gregory, please understand that if you are hurting inside because it feels like there's a severe imbalance, like be loving, be loved, how is that working out for me? Maybe not so great. What the Justice card is trying to say is that it is actually in perfect balance. You may not be aware of it in this lifetime at this moment in time, but it is in perfect balance. It is the law. It's the law of nature. It's the laws of physics. The healing power of love is literally an energy field. It's very pure. It's very powerful, and that energy field can be used or abused. Let's just think of it as pure energy. And it would be nice to have things balanced out a little more so you could get a sense of joy in a way that comports with your expectations. But for when you go through a period where the expectations are not being, they're not manifesting, God is trying to say that it's okay, things are exactly as they should be, whether you like it or know it or not. Everything is exactly as it should be. And why is that so? How is it so? It's because it can't be any other way. It's like the laws of physics and things. It might not turn out the way things expect or want in this particular lifetime, but you're still planting seeds. You're still planting seeds of love, and they might manifest in another lifetime in ways that you couldn't possibly imagine right now. So just keep being you. Just continue to be loving. Anyway, love anyway. So that's your message. I hope it's not too painful. Okay? Alright, I'm going to put this away. I'm going to shuffle up, and then we're going to do Fluffle's first reading. Okay, let's have a look here. All right, Fluffles. All right, let's see. I just want to do something here. Hold on. So, oh God. Thank you, Gregory. By the way, I wanted to say thank you necessary for the support in the chat room and things like that over the years. And even for the Bible references there. I have to tell you, I was raised in a very traditional religious way with Roman Catholicism. And I had a lot of Bible work, study, whatever you want to call it, but really it never really, it just kind of went in and out because I was a little bit hyperactive as a kid, and all I wanted to do was play and climb trees and ride my bicycle and play with my toys and do good things. I was a good kid, but a very wild kid, very hard, completely unmanageable. I'm sorry for my poor parents, but I always had good intentions. So I know some people who come here have a lot more comprehension on the Bible than I do, and it's incredible that you can pull out those references just like pop, straight out of your hat like that. John 13:34. I have no idea what that means, except it's something to do, I think, one of the apostles, something like that, and whatever they wrote. Oh, hold on. I've got some notes here coming up from Gregory. Sorry, the new YouTube interface for live stream is terrible. They just did a complete reformat. I can't go back to the old format system. It's much harder for me to operate here now. It's a real pain. So I'm going to try and read the chat. Okay, it said from Gregory, listening to Motown, gotta walk away. The fact it ended with the justice card illustrates that I have to walk away from the court system, at least in New Mexico. I had an event the other day. Oh my gosh. Wow. You're confirming a heartbreaking event with a judge. Oh man. Again, with that justice card, Gregory, it's almost like you have an excuse to not take it too personally. In some ways you could say it's like divinely ordained. The situation, if it's heartbreaking or it feels like tragedy, ultimately it's for your own good. And you have to, even if it's a painful separation, you have to be loving anyway. And you brought forward the energy of love in whatever context. And then you just have to move on from there. I mean, I've had plenty of situations in my own life where I have been loving, but there's no reciprocation at all. On the other hand, seeds are planted and reciprocation comes another day and another lifetime perhaps. Who knows? So you just keep going anyway. You love anyway. Give yourself a big hug. Gosh, we got all these newbies here who want readings, and that's great. Most of those websites, by the way, people who want all these free readings, there are websites and places where you can go and they charge like $3, $5, $10 a minute and stuff. So it makes the readings expensive or very expensive. Mine are very, very cheap. And I ask for just donations over here if anyone's interested. I've got 2 more readings to do tonight. We're going to do Fluffles number 1 and then Fluffles number 2. If you go to TarotLumination.com, I doubt whether I'll be able to do anything more than that after tonight anyway. But for future reference, these are readings by donation. And it should say so. It doesn't say so on the... What is it? Where's the... See, this new format for YouTube is awful. It is just... Oh, man. Hold on. No, I'm too scared to mess with the technology live while I'm doing it right now. Anyway. Thank you, Necessary. Luckily for you, Gregory, you're very good at reinterpreting the readings back into your own three-dimensional world. Because all I can do is come up with the essence of the reading, the core essence of it. But how that translates into 3D is a whole other thing. All right, now I'm already shuffled. We're going to go on to Fluffles. Okay, let's work with Freddy. We're going to talk about Freddy the cat, okay? I'm going to make a note here. Okay, so tonight, this reading here tonight, hold on, let's see if you can see that. Thank you, Fluffles. This is reading number 1 regarding Freddy the cat. Okay. Oh, look at that. Look who just showed up. Come here, Bubba. Say hi to everybody. Come on. Oh, my goodness, you fell. Okay. Okay. Well, let me see if the cameras are going to work okay. I don't know. Say hello, Bubba. I think Bubba heard a funny sound, or his tummy started gurgling and he might want to have a snack, okay? But anyway, he's here now. You'll notice that he's strikingly handsome. And he also has the DNA of being royalty in the time of the Egyptians. I was reading stuff the other day about the Egyptians. It just came to me randomly on my tablet. It was describing how cats weren't just loved in Egypt. They were revered like little gods. And there are some stories and legends that I just read how cats are actually using us. We're not pets for the cats. The cats are very, very smart, and they figured out, unlike dogs have sort of a much more emotional one-to-one relationship with their human. Bubba and me, we're pretty well bonded as a pair. But he has figured out that the way it works is that I am his human. And I am here to serve him. And that's what I do. And then you extrapolate that core concept and put it out all the way to a civilization. You start to realize that the cats that roamed around in the Egyptian palaces were the actual leaders and the rulers, and all the other princes and kings and whoever were there serving their cats because they worshipped their cats as though the cats were gods. Yeah, and my brother has a cat. Well, it's not really his cat. It's the cat that belongs to his wife. It's a white cat. It's a pure white cat. It's big, and it's always hungry. It's just an eating machine. And my brother does not have a very friendly relationship with that cat. That cat rules the house. It completely rules the house. It's a completely different relationship with my brother's wife because she's a cat lady. So she's fine with all of it. But my brother is like, stay away from me. But the cat doesn't care because the cat knows that the cat owns my brother, whether my brother likes it or not. Oh, little Bubba. I was just introducing you to the crowd, Bubba. There's some snacks over there. What you gonna do? Bubba, I have to do my reading now for Fluffles, okay? So we're gonna do a reading about Freddy the cat, okay? Oh, Bubba. You want to just sit here through the reading? Okay. So let me get set up. I know it's very strange. I've always kind of felt this way about little Bubba. I had very strong intuition that Bubba was very, very high up, basically at the peak of royalty when it comes to cats during a certain period in Egypt. Now, the Egyptian Empire went on for hundreds of years, and cats were at some point exalted to the status of gods. And cats ruled like kings, because effectively, even the highest level human prince was essentially beholden to the cat. Anyway, sounds ridiculous, but anyway. I just wanted to share that in advance of the reading. All right, let's do the reading itself. So the message is here tonight for Fluffles. Freddy the cat. Freddy the cat is no longer around. He's either lost, or he's been stolen, or he's been prey to another animal. Something like that. So Fluffles is interested in how he disappeared and how he, if he has any messages about their life together when they were together. So let's have a look. Let's just see what message comes up. Cards are already well shuffled, so we're going to dive right into it. Stay there, Bubba. Okay. You know the routine, Fluffles. Okay, here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle things going forward regarding Freddy. So, what kind of messages do we have here for Fluffles tonight regarding the loss of Freddy? And what messages does he have about their life that they have together? Oh. So it's the 8 of Cups here. Okay, so in this particular setting, we're looking at history. You have been loving. This is your reading for you, Fluffles, okay? It's not for Freddy. So in the context of this reading, Fluffles, you have been loving and you have been loved. More than enough. Plenty of love to go round. But in this three-dimensional life, this world, time moves on. And you have to, again, move on, just like with Gregory. You have to continue to love anyway. You're not allowed to hold on to any bitterness or sense of loss or any grievance about what may or may not have happened. Okay? Because things have changed for whatever reason. Now I don't want to read too much into this, but you know how cats are very spiritual beings, and they are here for us in ways that are sometimes very hard to describe or understand. I've had to foster a few cats over the years. My sister is a very high-powered veterinary doctor. She retired because she didn't like all the corporate world and all that big money stuff. So she just went into a very, let's say, reclusive life and just taking care of little animals. And she kept it very, very simple because she had to deal with thousands of cats. She had to put them down. She had to give them surgery. She had to treat them, help them get through infections and all sorts of things. And at the time, over here at this house, we lost 2 cats. We lost Bonnie and Boo Boo in short order. And it was a very sad, sad time. But there was also a lot of joy associated because of the sense of the great beyond. Because even though Boo Boo and Bonnie had passed on, their spirits grew to be magnificent. And it made us realize how privileged we are to have the love of a cat. Boo Boo was in a lot of pain, and when he passed over, one of the first things he told me is that he was so happy to be so free of all the pain. And when Bonnie passed, she was actually purring in my hands at the very last second until she passed out and was gone. And in her case, she got to the other side and started to show her true nature, which is more like a female wolf warrior, alpha female wolf. Staggering. It was an amazing thing to witness. So, there's more going on than just having a cat and then no longer having a cat. Let's have a look. What's the situation? Well, it's self-explanatory. It's kind of tragic, sad. There was a third party involved. So it looks like it was either definitely not lost. Freddie did not get lost. He was either stolen or he was taken by a predator. Either way, it's painful. It's one of the worst things is not knowing. Just not knowing what the hell happened. Just disappeared. I had a dog like that when I was a kid. I really deep down know what happened, but I've got no proof. It's very sad when he passed away, when he disappeared. So I don't really have to explain this too much. I think it's very painful. I think Freddie is very aware that it's painful for you. He's aware of that. And it's my feeling is that he is like suffering the same thing from his side. Okay? Like he didn't really want to be parted from you. So whether he was stolen or whether he was victim to a predator, no matter what, he didn't really have any say in the matter. Yeah, I see your notes there, like a coyote, attack dog owners, steal animals. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Hold on. Let's just keep going. I'm feeling a little unstable at the moment with this. Let's keep going. What's the challenge here? Oh, it's very simple. Again, it's very, very simple. It's the loss of a pure, loving relationship where you are loving and you are loved. And the same thing for Freddie. He was loving and he was loved. And that's, a little two of cups. It doesn't sound too, maybe it's not such a big deal, but it really, really is a big deal in this context. When you have something so pure and simple and then it's gone, it can be very painful. Now, I don't know why I have this feeling that I can't say he's lost. I do know that cats can go off for weeks at a time. But this, for some reason, this feels more permanent to me. Hold on. Hold on. Give me a second here. You see, the thing is, the reason I'm not convinced he's lost is because I've had cats that go lost for weeks. I know people who've had cats that go lost for weeks or months and then they show up again. And if that happens, and if you have anything remotely like a strong, healthy, psychic, emotional, loving relationship with the cat, you can kind of tell. But this looks a little bit more finite. And it's two-sided. I think Freddie misses you just as much as you miss Freddie. And what that would tell me is that he's not lost. He was either stolen or he was taken as prey by a predator. Okay, how do we move on here? Let's have a look. Oh. Goodness. Goodness. Well, this is the card of grief, okay? It's pretty self-explanatory. One of the things about grief is that, especially when it's a permanent loss, like you just said in your notes, it was 20 years ago, doesn't mean the grief is healed. A lot of people can't handle grief. The way I handle it, I typically have a major breakdown and then I come out the other side. Some people contain things more and they process them later or in another lifetime. It feels to me with this one is that because there's no formal explanation of the loss, and all you're doing is dealing with the grief of the loss, it puts you in this perpetual recycling, non-healing wound type of situation where you were loving and you were very loved. And every now and again, the subject comes into your full consciousness, because with this kind of love here, it's very pure. It's very, very simple. There's no expectations around it. There's no conditions. It's not a contract like in a marriage. This is just a purely loving dynamic between yourself and Freddie, and between Freddie and yourself. And things like that are very rare, very pure. And if you had that experience and you shared that, if it was not necessarily with a human, but it just happened to be with a cat, when it happened to be an animal, you know what that is. You know exactly what that is. You understand the frequency of love in its purest form. And then when you realize, oh, you just blink for 1 second and you realize you have a massive flashback, bam! Oh, I wish Freddie was here. Oh, I miss Freddie. And the moment you have that, it happens to me with other animals that I've enjoyed, where I'll get a moment of a flashback and I can drift into the pain of grief very, very deeply, very, very subtly. I can be in tears within fractions of a second. And it's something that you have to deal with. So if you've got that kind of pattern in your life, Fluffles, where every now and again you get this, where it's almost like this reading just keeps recurring every now and again, every year or every couple of months or a few years with nothing, and then bam, it really hits you one day. That's what it is. There's nothing good or bad about this. I think the message is contained in here. It's that Freddie misses you too. Okay, it's kind of... It's like it's not fair, okay? What happened is not fair either from the perspective of Freddie or from the perspective of yourself, but it is what it is. And in that context, everything is exactly as it should be. Why is that so? How is that so? It's because it can't be any other way. So if the situation is that this is a story of love and loss, and the experience of love, and then the experience of the loss of love, and how that translates into simple, pure grief, then so be it. But the beauty of this is a reminder to yourself, dear Fluffles, that you know what that's like. You know what it's like. And that's why it's so painful. And that's why it will probably keep recurring through life. It can happen, this is going to sound very weird, Fluffles, it can happen that a pet can reincarnate. Now, it might not be the same animal, but you'll know. I'm not going to say anything here that this could indicate a reincarnation in your lifetime with Freddie, the soul of Freddie, reincarnating in another cat. And there's no point in trying to superimpose that. There's no point in trying to superimpose this on top of another cat. It is what it is. It's totally unique between yourself and Freddie. Nothing more and nothing less. I guess at the deepest core of the reading, it's an experience of what it is to love and to be loved. To have loved and to have been loved. All right, that's your reading. All right, I've got to shuffle up here. I'm going to close this out. I'm going to shuffle up now. My poor little computer. I got your notes here, okay, Fluffles? Alright, let's have a look. Let's go over here. Hey, Fluffles. Is Freddy kind of big? Perhaps sort of a little bit long-haired and grayish? I'm just curious. Oh. Very big Persian orange. Oh, okay. Definitely big. Uh-huh. Oh, okay. Okay, I get it. All right. I'm going to put that here as the X. Okay, so excuse my messy post-it note, but there he is. What's going on with the X? Okay, we can do that. Cards are already shuffled in advance here, so we're good to go. Okay, I got the color very. I knew he was kind of light colored. I sensed it more of a gray, like a very soft light gray. But if you said it was what was he, an orange? Did you say? Big Persian orange, right? Okay. I'm just shuffling again to the last second to get some. To make things really, I like to have a very pristine deck. It's funny, I've done thousands of readings and these cards are still operating like a brand new deck. They're such good cards. Amazing, really. Okay, we can do that. Just for peace of mind, Fluffles, just give me a second here. Hold on. I'm trying to do the notes and everything and the chat all at once and run the stage as well. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. About X's. Maybe one of the reasons I got involved in tarot readings, especially in the early years, a lot of it revolves around love and relationships. People are trying to figure out the dynamics of who am I, who are you, why are you in my life, why am I in your life? Is it just a big like karmic recycled drama from previous lifetimes? Is it something new? Is it something that has a beginning and a middle and an end? Is it a past life that's being reconnected and then you live through all that and then you move on to another past life extension in the next lifetime? Everything's different. Every situation is different. But what I've noticed recently, now you mention that this is, because I don't do so many personal, private love and relationship readings anymore because I've become so focused on the global astrology. It's kind of a shame because there are a lot more people interested in personal astrology and tarot and relationships than the type of astrology that I do where I'm very focused on the global issues. So in some ways I let myself down, but I feel obliged to honor my true nature, so that's where I'm going. However, for whatever reason, I don't have oh man, how do I put this? How am I going to put this? I've had a lot of exposure to a lot of relationships. I've been in and out of lots of loving relationships in some form or another. So in some ways I'm a very lucky man. In some ways it's very painful because in the traditional three-dimensional sense, there's not a lot to show for that. In other words, if I wanted to, I could get really miserable about myself, like, why didn't it work out with so-and-so or so-and-so or so-and-so, and I could just start wallowing in self-pity. But what tends to happen is I realize that in my own particular life, I have what I call lifestyle package deals, where I'm with somebody, and that is my whole world. There's nothing else. And it seems to have a beginning and a middle and an end. And then I have to learn the hard way that this happened for me instead of to me. So even though there's a lot of pain and people move on, it still has meaning and purpose and value, and it's exactly perfect in its own way. Even though it might be painful, or if it doesn't fit your expectations of what a relationship is supposed to look like, or how you're conditioned to believe a relationship is supposed to be. I'm not very good at conforming to tradition. I kind of operate very much according to my heart center, and if something is not right, I don't like to bring on self-harm. And if I'm not right for someone else, anyway, it gets very complicated for everybody, but I guess the point I was trying to get to is I get lots of flashbacks. I'll see someone in the street, or I'll see something on YouTube, or I'll be daydreaming, fully conscious but daydreaming, or I will be semi-conscious, going to sleep or waking up, and I'll be in that sort of lucid dreaming state, and I'll have lots of different flashbacks for all sorts of different love and relationship situations. And in that context, sometimes time is meaningless. And I know that I am still loving and that I am still loved. I know that even though I'm not with so-and-so or so-and-so or so-and-so and so-and-so, we loved each other, and it was reciprocal, each in our own way, until it was inappropriate to continue for whatever reason. Now, some people have completely different life trajectories where they instinctively know that they are a bonded pair, and then they proceed accordingly. There you go. But it's different for everybody. So I understand your concern about someone from the past, and you're not connected with them, but sometimes it would be awfully satisfying and nice to find out, what's going on there. Like, what happened? What's happening now? Let's have a look, shall we? Over here. So what's going on? What are the messages for Fluffles here? And remember, this is a reading. Fluffles booked a reading. So it's a really... Okay, I have to frame the question like, what are the messages for Fluffles tonight regarding the old relationship that no longer exists between herself and person X? Last minute bulk shuffle, just so like I get into the groove, so to speak. Oh. I have to shout out something today. Give me a second, Fluffles. I'll be right back. I have to do a shout out. Somebody, since you're talking about my global channel over on Rumble, I really love doing that stuff because it really challenges me to make the best of my innate skills and talents and then share them. And every now and again I get very kind, generous donations. Anyway, somebody was watching my channel the other day and they wrote to me. They obviously went to TarotLumination.com, found my email and connected with me, and they did this. They asked me, "Dear TarotLumination, I understand that you wrote a book about money. Please tell me, where can I get it?" And so I sent the link on Amazon. This is the little book. He bought it and he read it. And he commented just the other day. He wrote back and he said, "It was an excellent read and it should be prescribed as a textbook in high schools all across America." The person who wrote this, the person who wrote the notes to me, sounded like he was a highly educated, very intelligent, kind of logical person, and had developed a strong interest in what I call wealth, money, and finance, and he was very interested in my perspectives, and this is my perspective. And he said it offers a lot more than just a thesis about wealth and money and finance. And then he made a few notes about the astrology and the referencing to specific dates and so on. And I replied, "Thank you very much." So I'm very proud of that. Very, very proud of that. Anyway, dear Fluffles, so that was a blast from the past because I wrote that book in 2017, published it in 2018, 2019, but it's even more relevant today than it was back then. Anyway, Fluffles, let's have a look. Let's open up the portals, as they say. What kind of messages do we have here for Fluffles tonight regarding herself and person X from long ago? All right, here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we move forward. Let's have a look at external influences. Remember, the astrology right now is very extreme. It's a very high-pressure astrology environment. And the major theme is to evolve or perish. And that's for the whole of our species, not just you, Fluffles, or Gregory, or Necessary, or whoever else is here. It's for our whole species. We have to evolve or we perish. But when you just break down the astrology to what it is for tonight, where did I put it? Where's my notes? Oh, here it is. Okay, so you booked this reading a little while ago, but that stellium has been with us since Scorpio days. It's building up in Sagittarius. It's very concentrated right now, and it's going to become even more concentrated at the end of January. Okay, so it might be for you, Fluffles, that this huge stellium here, it's very, very personal. It involves the personal planets. Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Okay, now I like to deal with Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, the impersonals, way out there. But this is very personal. And it might be that somewhere in your chart, dear Fluffles, this massive stellium has triggered some kind of memory, flashback, which is demanding attention. Very normal. It's just like having retrogrades. We have to go through these things. Just because the relationship doesn't exist in 3D at the moment doesn't mean it has fully lived its life in spirit. So let's have a look. So with the Eight of Swords here, my feeling is that while the relationship existed in three-dimensional terms, in other words, when you're actually, together as two people, there were a lot of things going on at that time which partly didn't make sense and made it feel like, even though you might have been very, let's say, considerate and respectful towards each other, deep down it looks like both parties triggered a lot of thorny issues between yourselves and each other. And I would classify that as a learning relationship, where you and person X were together because your souls are drawn together, because the truth is you need to know a lot more about yourself than you know already. Or let's do it in context. You needed to know a lot more about yourself than you knew already. And the only way to get that is in the context of a relationship with someone who's willing to get that close to you so that you can be that close to them to be able to access one of the most valuable components of a relationship, which is the mirror, the psychic, spiritual mirror, the heart mirror. And so when that mirror effect shows up in a relationship, you get to see, you get exposed to a lot of, you could say there are like lots of little minor frictions that make what might have been expected to be like a romantic or a loving relationship actually be something that's quite challenging, where you get to see a lot of things about yourself that are confusing and don't make sense, and vice versa for person X. By them being with you, they were exposed to a lot of spiny issues about themselves. Now, the thing about the context of the mirror is this. Hold on. I'll see if I can explain myself better. So, in a very straightforward relationship dynamic, that's yourself and the other. And you can get these things called projections, or let's say you are relating, and let's say something uncomfortable happens, like there's like an argument or a glitch or something. Is like, why did you say that? Why? I thought we were going to go out and do this, or I thought, like, why didn't you do that? Just whatever it is, just the tiniest little thing. It could be like having a splinter, The way I'm reading the Eight of Swords here, it's like splinters. That's what I'm sensing. And that even though the intentions are good, your intentions are ultimately good between yourself and X, and between X and yourself. But the reality is that both parties are having the experience of like splinters in the relationship. In other words, the closer you get, the more likely you are to expose a splinter, and that's actually, And when that happens, guess what happens? Typically, one party who is experiencing the splinter blames the other party for triggering the splinter. And the same thing, vice versa. And after a while, that can be a game changer to the point where it's like, I don't need this anymore. I want to be loving. I want to be loved. I want to be happy. I want to have fun. I want to have sex, money, babies, home, family, or whatever it is that is on the menu or the agenda. Thrills, excitement, something negative, maybe exploitate, or whatever it might be. And then to discover that despite the best of intentions, the reality is that both parties are being exposed to, let's say, flaws in themselves and each other. Think of those splinters almost like little hairline cracks in a diamond. Okay, Fluffles, think of yourself as a very beautiful diamond. And then on close examination, very, very close examination, you discover, microscopic hairline fractures, and you think, oh no, oh man. It doesn't mean it's not a beautiful diamond. It's just nature. We're all at some point, you know, the people who hang out here are mostly have like a beautiful diamond heart core, but we're all fractured. We've all got splinters, flaws, and deep wounds somewhere, okay? And it needs to be acknowledged and understood. So in my experience, this looks like a learning relationship where you learned a lot about yourself and he learned a lot about himself, to the point where, yeah, what I learned was that, okay, thank you very much, Flo. It's time to move on, because if that's the core nature of the relationship, then it's a learning. You're not supposed to dwell in this kind of relationship forever, because if you try to force a traditional, what appears to be a traditional relationship on top of this dynamic, you're just sentencing yourself to more and more of the same. Okay, what's the situation then? Moving on. The Knight of Pentacles. We had that. So there was no doubt you had the very best of intentions. You had the best of intentions towards person X. And it's very pure and very, very simple. And not a lot of expectation. It's just open-hearted generosity, kindness, love, and giving in a way that's demonstrative. In other words, your actions speak louder than words. Maybe you didn't have a very articulate relationship and there was entanglement with words. Think of all the swords energy here. You might have had a lot of feisty arguments or something, but your intentions were good, and you made good on your intentions by delivering with actions, delivering accordingly by actions. In other words, if you say you're going to show up, you show up. If you offer something good and wholesome and you say that, then you deliver accordingly. Okay, this is very nice to have in a loving relationship, where actions speak as loudly as words. In other words, I'm not messing around. I'm not just full of fantasy and lovey-dovey girl, romantic love confusion. I have good intentions. I mean well. I want the best. Okay. And you're willing to offer that and deliver that. Or you were. So, what's the challenge here? Okay, well, it was never meant to be, put it that way. In other words, at the core level, if I was doing a full-blown, deep, long dive relationship reading, you would discover that the relationship was never meant to be a traditional three-dimensional relationship in the textbook manner, like lovey-dovey, house, marriage, love, kids, mortgages, like the family type thing. It was pure, straightforward, loving intentions, the best of who you could be at that time, at that moment, with that person. And as you immerse yourself in the relationship with X, you experience this reflected back to you, and X experiences this reflected back to him. And ultimately, that's probably not sustainable, because it would be so uncomfortable and so confusing. It's just like, I can't take it anymore. And so it's like it was destined to end, but that's not the end of the end of the end of the world. It's just, it was destined to end so that you could both, draw a line and say, well, that was that. And you move on. And what it does, when you have a very specific, conclusive ending like that, there's no point in remorse. There's no point in trying to re-spark it, start it all over again. It's very liberating. It's freedom, so you can start from scratch. But you start from scratch knowing a lot more about yourself than you did before. And it's the same for person X. So it was a lifestyle package deal type situation where there may have been love, it turned out to be this, and then it ended. It still has purpose and meaning and value, okay? But people do move on. I know that in my lifetime, I've had relationships that are formally concluded. I will never be back with those people in another lifetime because it's not necessary, it's not wanted. I can also tell that I will be back with certain people in other lifetimes because things are not concluded. This looks to me very cut and dry and concluded. How do we move on? Oh, with the Magician. So with the Magician, you have a lot of freedom of movement. Given this little mini reading here, if this was from long ago, with the Magician, this is a really powerful card of new beginnings and new starts, okay? It's the end and the beginning. So it's very, very liberating. If you look at this relationship as a standalone relationship that had a beginning, a middle, and an end, even if it was inherited from a previous lifetime, it is formally, officially history in this lifetime, and that's extremely liberating. It gives you the chance to move forward in a much more advanced way than you were before. In other words, you have a lot more self-awareness, consciousness about who you really are, and then the big question becomes like, wow, what do I do now? What am I going to do with that? What am I going to do with my inspiration, my wisdom, my passion, my drive? I don't know. What am I going to do with all my intelligence and knowledge and wisdom? I'm not quite sure yet. What am I going to do with all my capacity to be loving? Because I know that I have that capacity. And what am I going to do in terms of the three-dimensional expression of how this all works out? In other words, am I going to be a really good, let's say, example of living by example? In other words, if I say I'm going to do this, do I do that? Remember, actions speak louder than words. Material actions speak louder than words. Okay. Wait, hold on. Let me catch up. Let me just catch up with your. Stay there. I'm gonna have to go over here and read the notes. Give me a second. Let's have a look. I can't. What's a nice couple? And what is wrong with perishing? Nothing's wrong with it. It's part of life. We all perish at some point. Fluffles, Mom. Okay, hold on. I'm reading your notes there. Give me a second. I'll be right back. I won't lie, TL. This is about Tommy. He's very angry with me and he walked away. I know he didn't want to, but too many splinters that we couldn't fix. Okay. I know he didn't want to. Think he felt he had to. Both of us, I believe, actually loved each other. Okay, good enough. I know what I felt. I want to know what he felt. Flubs. Have you ever seen the movie Goodfellas? Tommy thought he had good intentions. Okay, Fluffles, Mom. TL, you didn't read the notes, unfortunately, throughout, but thank you. Yes, necessary. I've seen the movie. I don't remember it. Tommy got very angry with Spider too. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but anyway, words. It looks to me like one of the key issues was anger and words, which, with the swords here, it's all about spoken word, language, communications, lots of miscommunications, misunderstandings. And so there might have been outward good intentions, but a lot of people, sometimes people don't really know themselves or who they are until they are in the context of a relationship where they get the mirror effect, okay? When you discover the true nature, like he might have said this, he might have said that, he might have done this or done that, but in the reality, something different happened. And let me go back to the night. He felt he had to leave. Okay. He didn't want. He walked away. He was very angry with me, and he walked away. I know he didn't want to, but too many splinters that we couldn't fix. Okay. Well, you've kind of answered it there, Fluffles, already. Too many splinters that you couldn't fix. Okay? There's no point in trying to resuscitate something that has already served its purpose. You have been there for him. He's been there for you. And even if it was a difficult ending, or it was painful or sharp, or however it worked out, this looks very conclusive. Like it's a very specific, conclusive ending. And there's literally very little to be gained out of dwelling on whether this can be resuscitated or what it really means. At the deepest level, it means focus on yourself, Fluffles. Whatever you learned from the relationship, what might be that you put out that triggered his anger, or what did he put out that bounced back from you that triggered anger? Because maybe the anger was very much at himself. Who knows? I think you said it's about Tommy, if it's that person you mentioned before, and he's got very specific expectations about relationships and women and how things are supposed to be, and it's not matching expectations. If there's a severe discrepancy, that can be very painful. But with the conclusion here with the magician, it looks to me like treat this as an amazing gift where you learned a lot about yourself. And Tommy learned a lot about himself, and sure, intentions were good. But the reality of the relationship is what I would call a learning relationship. Okay? You had to know certain aspects about your nature. He had to learn certain aspects about his nature that could only have occurred between yourself and Tommy, and between Tommy and yourself. That's moved on. Okay? It looks pretty conclusive to me, and the big issue now is, what do I do now? I'm an awesome person. I can do whatever I want. I'm Fluffles. I'm awesome. I am loving. I can be loved. I'm Fluffles' mom. I had Freddie. Life goes on. Question is, how am I going to execute that life? There's a lot of power in this card here, and we just reached a full moon. So maybe you could digest on this reading for the next few weeks and recalibrate everything late in the month when we have the Capricorn new moon. And there's going to be a big supercharge at the end of the month with all that Aquarius vibe. So just take this at face value, okay, Fluffles? Consider yourself liberated. No expectations by Tommy from you. You don't have to have any expectations from Tommy towards you. Move on. Move on. Recalibrate. Create your own new menu in life. Give yourself permission to think, feel, want, whatever you want. Test it out. You have a lot of freedom of movement here. Okay. All right, let's have a look. I'm going to go over here for a second. Oh. Well, I'm really glad I got to catch up on those readings. So, thank you very much for your kindness and patience and generosity. For anyone watching, I'm sorry I can't afford to do freebies. It's a lot of work to do these things. I don't get paid by YouTube anymore. My channel is basically scrubbed. It's still monetized, but everything goes to them. Thank you. Have a wonderful new year. Hopefully we'll be around next Sunday. In the meantime, you're welcome to visit me on Rumble platform. It's sort of like YouTube, and it's TarotLumination on Rumble. Okie dokie. Hold on, let me just see the notes. Oh, hold on, there's more notes coming in. I feel like the reading got sidetracked. There's too many comments in between and not reading notes. I try and not talk during others' readings, but the way there's no confusion in the notes. But that way there's no confusion in the notes. I feel like this reading got sidetracked. Oh. It feels pretty straightforward to me. It feels like a pretty blunt, straightforward reading. Don't worry about it, Fluffles. Just let it simmer for a while. I don't know how to get out of this one because there's a lot of comments. I don't know how to get out of it because I kind of looked at the chat. I felt like obliged to look at the chat because there were so many comments, and it felt like I was being required to check the chat, and so I did. And if that kind of spoiled the reading, I'm sorry about that, but the reading is what it is. It's done what's done. I think if you wanted to just really compress the reading, it's basically over. And you can have a wonderful fresh start. You can completely reimagine life and love and relationships going forward from now. Like a blank canvas, okay? And obviously you learned something from the past. Let's leave it at that. Okay. Good night, folks. Thank you very much again. Take care of yourselves. I don't have much more to offer tonight. I gotta take some stuff for my throat. What's that again? Yeah, okay.